Find out more again, would you? www.shopmccarthy.com. Let's bring our friend Dan Robinson on the show right now. He joins us, and gosh, Dan, first of all, we are so thankful that nobody was injured worse than they were with the storm that rolled through there that night.
Yeah, we are too. Thankfully it was Monday night early in the week, and not a day or two later, we could have had some really catastrophic damage there.
Yeah. So Dan, let's just go. Have we determined yet if it was a tornado or high winds? Because from the pictures and the video that we've seen, it looks like a tornado to me.
Yeah, we just received word this evening. They said it was straight line winds, but there's just really no way that's possible, in my opinion, based on the way the buildings were and the direction. We have fences down, blowed to the west, and we have sun to the east. And, it was so hit or miss, too, the things that picked up and moved. If it was straight line winds, I disagree, but I'm not a meteorologist.
Well, I would say – go ahead, Kurt.
No, I agree with you, Dan. I mean, I'm looking at that grandstand over there, the way it was twisted up into a pretzel. You telling me that's a straight line wind?
There's no way that
I don't buy that.
I don't buy it for a second.
I don't buy it at all. And we had campers literally 100 feet away from each other. One wasn't moved an inch, and another one was flipped over. A straight line wind would have blown everything over. It literally looked like it jumped over the lake and dropped down and hit the off-road bleachers and went through the woods. It was really crazy.
Yeah. So, Dan, kind of assessed, I know a lot of people have, and we've watched it on the local news. It was, unfortunately, on the local news. But tell us the damage, the extent of the damage down there, because all we see is pictures. Kind of run over some of it. Is the main structure and the suites and everything still okay?
Yes. Miraculously, it is. It was largely untouched. There was just a couple pieces on the south edge of it on the roof that had peeled back and stuff, but amazingly, it's okay. We had two sets of auxiliary bleachers in turn 1 and 2 that were bolted down. Those are now in turn 4 and on the front straightaway. So those were the only real damage to the circle track. The biggest damage is there's a lot of fencing down around the perimeter of the pits and different areas. Obviously, you saw the off-road bleachers. Those are in real trouble. That's going to be a total reclamation project there, starting from scratch. And most of the damage was there was probably 15 or 18 campers that were totaled.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing. But the dirt track is amazingly okay.
Yeah. Well, again, thank God that didn't happen later in the week, because a lot of people roll in early for the Show Me 100. Now, let's talk about the Show Me 100. You had fans there. Let's first of all talk about the fans. From your knowledge, is everybody going to be okay? And kind of give us an update on the people that were there that were injured.
Yeah, of course, due to HIPAA laws, we had a hard time getting the hospital to say too much. And, some of what we saw, we talked directly. But basically it was, a few things like some broken ribs. And I think one lady maybe had a collapsed lung that they were able to get repaired. I think everybody is out of the hospital now as of today. So
great.
Nothing real serious, but, you get tossed around in a camper like that, and just bumps, bruises, and broken ribs were the biggest thing.
And, Dan, you say the dirt track is pretty good shape. It's really, there's just no way you could safely conduct an event of this magnitude this weekend with all that damage around. No matter how many hours overnight you could have taken to get things cleaned up, that just was never in the cards, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we still have a camper right now laid on top of we have the automatic, the big pit gate.
Yep.
The golf cart guy's camper was sitting there, and it flipped over on top of his rental golf carts on top of the pit gate. We can't even get rigs in and out right now, and it's it'd be Wednesday night. We're working on that, but yeah. And the other thing is all the perimeter fencing. There's so much of it down, and a lot of the posts, we have concrete ribbons around everywhere, so the posts are not just moved in the grass or broke off at the concrete. So it's a tremendous amount of work to get the perimeter fencing back up, and that's really what became the biggest issue.
I'm sitting here looking at these pictures as we talk to you, and I just can't believe that anybody would think straight line winds would cause this damage. I look at one of the Lucas Oil production trailers. I think it was one of the drag boat trailers that was sitting down there, and it's flipped over the fence. That trailer has to weigh, I don't know, 4,000 pounds, and it's blown completely over the fence.
I had just moved that trailer to that spot myself Saturday morning to get it out of the way of the drag boat midway so we could bring all the campers down there. I backed it under, the north end of that grandstand to get safe. It'll be undercover if anything hails or whatever. And it did. It just tossed it over on top of the fence on the front straightaway. And if you look closer to the south end of those off-road bleachers, there's an entire set of bleachers that were undercover on the front stretch of the off-road track. I mean, it blew the entire thing over, not just the roof. So
that whole section, yeah, I see that. Hey, Dan, so quickly before we wrap up here, let's talk about the makeup for the Show Me 100.
We are going to make it up. We are looking at a couple dates, and we have one solid date. We're still fleshing out potential conflicts or issues, but we are going to release that on Tuesday. We needed a week we wanted to make sure we had a deadline and we had, time to flush everything out properly. So we expect that press release to come out on Tuesday of next week.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that I always say that, it could have been a whole lot worse than it was. And we're just thankful that no other injuries, because as you point out, Dan, if that had happened, a day or two later, it would have been much worse.
It could have been terrible. Yeah.
Well, hopefully that's our one time. Hopefully lightning doesn't strike twice, as they say, hopefully. So maybe that was our one time and we got out of our system and, we'll be safe moving forward.
The Lucas Oil Speedway will come back bigger and better than ever before.
Let me ask this quickly, Dan. Weekly show. When do we expect to be back open for the weekly show?
We should be open June 8th.
June 8th?
We have a scheduled weekend off next weekend, which we always do after the show me just to clean up the facility. I fully expect to be open June 8th with no problem at all.
Oh, that's great.
Okay. Well, that's great news. All right, Dan. And I loved your post today, by the way, that said, we're going to be closed this weekend. The Show Me 100 is not going to take place, but go support your local tracks. A lot of races. Hopefully Mother Nature will work with. It's been a horrible year for that.
Hopefully. We sell oil at the end of the day, so that's a plus. But we want short track racing to grow and prosper. And, if you can't come to us, go support somebody else. I think, that's all we could ask of anybody.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, Dan. Thanks for taking the time. I know it was short notice for you. Appreciate that. And we'll keep everybody posted on the updates and if anything transpires that we haven't already talked about. Okay?
Well, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure anytime.
All right, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. There you have it, Dan Robinson, Lucas Oil Speedway. Wow, Kirk.
I'm looking at those that grandstand at the off-road track that's twisted up into. I mean, you're telling me a straight line wind did that? I don't buy it.
No, I can't believe straight wind would twist the steel like that.
No, and I just think.
And not only that, like Dan said, it didn't blow over everything. It was like on a path.
Right.
Just like a tornado.
I mean, it could have been a twister that dipped in and out of the sky and just
the main grandstands weren't bothered. If those were straight line winds and it was consistent all the way across the property, it would have blown everything.
It looks like a twister that kind of dipped out of the sky and touched several places. I'm not a meteorologist.
You know what?
What do I know?
I heard that the tornado sirens didn't go off down there. Maybe that's the reason they don't want to admit it's a tornado. Maybe.
I don't know. Who knows? But,
all right. Okay, folks, thanks for tuning in to tonight's show. Don't forget, we got Track Talk this Saturday morning from 8 to 10. You can watch it right here on Facebook and Twitter. It's RacinBoys.com as well. And we got all kinds of live broadcasts going on this weekend.
Hopefully Lake Ozark Speedway.
Lake Ozark Speedway, Double X Speedway. So tune in to Racing Boys and become an all-access member. Enjoy a lot of our broadcasts that we have on Racing Boys. Again, Friday and Saturday night, 8 o'clock.
Prime time live, coast to coast. Tune in. We got it all covered all across the country.
Featuring the man, Kirk Elliott. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you Saturday morning on Track Talk.